Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. A question I regularly hear is, how long is this immigration process going to take? So that's what we're discussing today. We're going to go through different scenarios and generally approximate what you should expect to wait for each of these scenarios. If you're new to my channel, I'm Puyan Darian, an immigration lawyer, and I put out a new video each week on a family-based immigration topic. So here we go. Let's start by asking the question properly. Are you trying to see the processing time for adjustment of status in the United States? Or are you filing a family petition for a family member abroad who is going to go through the consulate and consular process into the US? Adjustment of status is an easier topic for me to explain, so I'm going to start with that. If you want to file a family petition for, let's say, a spouse, and you're applying for their green card in the US, you file the family petition, form I-130, and the green card application together. You can check out what the approximate processing times are on the USCIS website. If you go to Google and you type USCIS processing times, the very first link will say processing times. You click that, go to their website, and then you select the form I-485 from the drop-down menu. And then there will be a couple options. You select family-based immigration, and then you would select the city where your case is going to be heard. So my city would be New York City. And when I select all these options, the website says 80% of cases are completed within 16 and a half months. So this is an approximate waiting period for all family-based immigration cases. So whether it's the spouse of a US citizen or the parent of a US citizen, they're giving an approximation. Notice it says 80% of cases, so that gives them some wiggle room. Your case might take longer than that. I've noticed that spouse-based cases are much faster than petitions for parents. For example, I just got a green card approval for one of my cases yesterday that we filed in December. It got approved after 7 months for a spouse of a US citizen. Whereas I have a petition pending for a parent of a US citizen, and it's still pending, and it's been longer than 16 and a half months for sure right now. So this is an approximation. You can see in your specific city what the processing times are. Now, what happens if you are trying to see the processing time for a family petition that's going to be processing through a consulate abroad? This is a really complicated question because there are multiple parts to the process and each part takes a different amount of time. So let's start by saying family petitions generally start by filing form I-130, which is called a petition for an alien relative. That's the name of the form. The petition can take anywhere from 6 months to 2 years depending on when you're filing it. Let's call it around a year. It's actually a little less than a year for certain petitions right now, but that could change by the time this video airs. So the first step is to file form I-130. Let's say it takes a year for it to get approved. That means USCIS will send you an approval notice. Then you'll have to get the case transferred to the National Visa Center. In fact, your approval notice will say, give us 45 days to transfer this case from USCIS to the National Visa Center, which is a part of a different government agency, the Department of State. They say 45 days, but right now it's taking probably less than 2 weeks. And what will happen is the National Visa Center will generate an email and send it to you with a case ID and an invoice ID number. You would log into their website with those login credentials and follow their instructions online, or your lawyer would do all of this for you. Now, at this point, there are several processing times to keep in mind. First of all, if you're filing a petition for someone like a sibling, you're gonna have to wait until a visa becomes available, and that's gonna take like 15 years for most countries. So that by itself adds 15 years to the process. Petitioning for like an adult son or daughter, if you're a US citizen, probably gonna take like 8 years, and add 6 years to that if they're married. So these are really long processing times for preference category petitions, which in multiple videos I explain are different from immediate relative petitions, which means a visa is immediately available. So let's say though that a visa is available. You're sponsoring a spouse abroad and you're a US citizen. That's an immediate relative petition. At that point, once you fill out all of the National Visa Center website information and you submit the case, it'll become documentarily qualified. What that basically means is that the National Visa Center has glanced over everything. They're generally okay with everything you submitted. You meet their requirements for their checklist. There's nothing else they need. And then they're going to transfer the case to the local consulate where your immigrant spouse is residing, the nearest one to where they're living that has jurisdiction over their case. At this point, the consulate should send your spouse an email giving them instructions to fill out their medical exam, schedule an interview, the documents to bring, and eventually they're going to be able to get an interview scheduled. This can take anywhere from 30 days to over a year, depending on the consulate, the country it's in, and how backed up they are at that time. Eventually, your spouse will get an interview, and if all goes well, an immigrant visa will be placed in their passport, and they'll use that passport to enter the US. On the date they enter the US, they become a permanent resident, and you have to pay another fee and designate an address for the green card to be mailed, and eventually the green card will get mailed to your home address. If I had to give an approximation for a case where a US citizen is starting the process from start to finish for a spouse, I would say about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, depending on the country you're in and how long you take to fill out the National Visa Center documents and get your case documentarily qualified. I know this is not the answer that a lot of people want to hear, but it takes a really long time and you need to be prepared for that. I know from personal experience that this can put a lot of stress on your relationship, especially if you are recently married. So keep this in mind. You might have other options available. You should check out some of my videos about adjustment of status versus consular processing. If you have any specific questions, you could always schedule a consultation directly with me. We'll go through all of the options you have available to you and we'll create a game plan so that we can fix the immigration status of your loved one as soon as possible. If you're new to my channel and you're interested in immigration topics for family-based immigration, be sure to like the video and subscribe. I put out an immigration-based video on a weekly basis, and I'll see you guys next week for another video.